This is section 7-4, Purchasing a Home. The objectives of this lesson are to estimate the closing costs, to create an amortization table for a fixed-rate mortgage, to create an amortization table for a fixed-rate mortgage with extra payments, and to investigate the amortization table for an adjustable-rate mortgage. These are some key terms in this lesson. They all pretty much relate to purchasing a home. Some of them you may know, some of them may be a little bit strange to you, but hopefully after going through this lesson, you'll understand and know the definitions for each of these. So, what will the American dream cost you? This is probably going to be the largest single purchase you'll ever make in your life. So it's important to understand what's behind it and how much it's going to cost, and some additional questions. You may want to know what are some recurring and non-recurring costs that you're responsible for now, because that'll affect money you have available for taking and purchasing the home. And then there's also, why is it important for a prospective buyer to have a title search? Think about that. Why do we need a title search? The basic reason for that is simply to verify the ownership of the property. You don't want to be buying something and not have it be actually owned by whom you're buying it from. And then what are some financial responsibilities that are paid in arrears? Okay? So knowing how much money you have, what your expenses are, these are all important factors in purchasing a home. So let's look at example 1. Leah and Josh are buying a $600,000 home. They have been approved for a 3.75% APR mortgage. They made a 15% down payment and will be closing on September 6th. How much should they expect to pay in prepaid interest at the closing? All right, the closing is September 6th. Typically, their first mortgage payment is going to be due on October 1st, but they will be responsible for the interest between closing and when their first mortgage payment is due. So first, let's look at the down payment. They said it was 15%, okay? So if we take 15% of $600,000, that's $90,000. So that's how much money initially they put down as a as a down payment for the house. Now, what remains of the cost of the house? So the loan amount that they will require will be $600,000 minus the $90,000 down payment, or they will require a loan of $510,000. Now, as I said, the prepaid interest is going to be the interest from the closing date of September 6th through the end of that month, okay? They will be responsible for interest through that period. Well, the annual interest rate and the annual interest, if you take the original amount of the loan, which is $510,000, and multiply it by 0.0375, you come out with the annual interest being $19,125 initially. Now, to take this one step further and find out the daily interest, you simply divide that by 365, since there's 365 days in a year. This gives you $52.40 per day. Now, between September 7th and September 30th, there's 24 days. So if you take the daily interest, $52.40, multiplied by 24, you come out with the prepaid interest at closing, $1,257.60. Okay, let's look at example 2. Leah and Josh know that they will have to bring their checkbook to the closing. What might they expect to pay in total at the closing? Well, there's a lot of factors that go into what they need to pay at closing, but the rule of thumb is that anywhere from 2 to 6% of the purchase price will be what they will require at closing. So if you take 2% of 600,000, it comes out with $12,000. If you take 6% of 600,000, it comes out to be $36,000. So that's the range of amount of money that they can expect to pay in total at the closing. All right, so let's move on. Trudy and Tom have been approved for a $300,000 15-year mortgage with an APR of 3.98%. How much of their first monthly payment will go to interest and principal? So, first of all, we have to figure out what their monthly payment's going to be. And if you'll recall from our earlier this year, we learned the formula for figuring out the monthly payment of a loan, knowing the principal, the interest rate, and the total number of years. So if we plug those numbers into our formula, we come out with the monthly payment being $2,216.06. So now we need to calculate the interest initially. Now the first monthly payment, their balance is going to be $300,000. Their interest rate is 3.98%, and we want to figure out per month, but we also want to use the interest rate rather than the decimal, so it's going to be 300,000 times 3.98 over 1,200, or it comes out that the first payment is going to require an interest payment of $995. So now we know the monthly payment is $2,216.06. We know that of that, $995 is going to be interest. So if we subtract those two numbers, we come out with $1,221.06 goes to the principal. So, how can Trudy and Tom get an accounting of where their mortgage payments will go for the first year of their mortgage? So they want to know how much of each payment is going to be principal, how much of each payment is going to be interest. So basically, they have to create an amortization table. Now, a lot of these you can just get online and know what they are, but they're going to actually calculate one, knowing the principal, the interest rate, the length of the loan, and the number of yearly payments. In other words, it's paid monthly. And you can see the payment number, and I've shown here all the way down to 15 payments. If they want to know the first year, there should be only down to 12 payments. And it shows each payment, what the beginning balance is, what the monthly payment is. Notice that stays constant. Of that, what the interest is. Notice interest is actually getting smaller, and what portion of the monthly payment is principal. And if you'll notice, the amount going towards principal is getting larger. So the payment stays the same, interest drops, but principal increases. And then after they've made that payment, what the new ending balance is of their loan, or how much they still owe. So now they decide they want to make an extra payment of $100 each month to reduce their principal. In other words, they want to take and pay off their loan quicker. So they're going to add $100 every month and have that go towards principal. This is an additional $100 other than their regular monthly payment. They adjust their spreadsheet as shown. What formula changes did they make in row 6 so that the extra payment could be accounted for? Well, the first thing you'll notice is that they had to add a new column D, which is for the extra payment. So they're adding an extra payment of $100. Then they had to modify cell E6, cell F6, and cell G6 as shown. And once they did that, they were able to take and see how their ending balance was going down faster now that they're adding the $100 extra payment. So finally, let's look at Chris and Jean, who have a 6-month adjustable 15-year mortgage. That means the interest rate stays the same for 6 months, then it's readjusted every 6 months. They borrowed $300,000 and were quoted an initial rate of 2.99%. After 6 months, their rate increased by 1%. Examine the following spreadsheet for the first year of payments. How were the amounts for payment 7 calculated? Well, first of all, you'll notice that in location C2, they had to change the interest rate. Originally, it was 2.99 as it was in B2, but now it's going to be 3.99, and that's in cell location C2. They also had to enter 14.5 years in C3. Originally, in B3, it listed 15 years, but now 6 months has gone by, and in C3, they're going to take and put in 14.5 years. And then finally, they had to adjust the formulas in row 12 to use the new interest rate, the new length of the loan, and the current principal balance. Then to copy these formulas into rows 13 through 17 for the last 6 months of the first year.